Welcome to the Chukas edition of the Short Vort. This week we will have an opportunity to start off with a focus on the segment between Sheini and Shlishi. And in that segment we had the death of Miriam, and with Miriam's death there was the absence of the be'er, the well of water, and the people were upset and complaining about their lack of water. So we look in the pasuk, and the pasuk has Lo haya mayim le'ida v'yakalu al Moshe v'al. The people didn't have water and they gathered on Moshe and Aaron. But it's interesting to note that when they went to complain about the water, they actually went on and said, Lama helisanu mitzrayim laviyo sanu el makom hara hazeh. Why did you take us out of Egypt to this bad place? Lo makom zera te'ena b'gefen rimo. There is no seed, there's no figs, there's no grapes, and there's no pomegranates. Umayim ein l'shtos, and there's no water. So what is the concept of complaining about the figs and the grapes and all that if the issue was a lack of water? So Rabbi Reuven Malamed in the Sefer Me'eretz Yosher explains that this shows really what the motivation was for the Bnei Yisrael. Their complaining was more as using the water as a pretext, because otherwise why would they complain? And if you're going to complain about something, shouldn't you be complaining that as the first issue? You shouldn't have been saying that, well, we don't have any water, and there's no grapes, and there's no pomegranates. But instead, what do? They complain that this is not a good place for seed, for figs, for pomegranates, and grapes, and oh, by the way, umayim ein l'shtos, there is no water. So from that we see that the motivation was really to complain, and not so much just the issue of the lack of water. We go back earlier in the Parsha. So it talks about Adam ki amus ba'ohel, when a person dies in a tent, and allegorically, many commentaries explain that's talking about the only way to have a kinyan of Torah, to really learn Torah, is by someone who's memes et atzmo ba'ohel, who literally or figuratively kills himself in the tent, in the base medrash, that he negates himself, that he's only focused on the learning the Torah. There's a mashal that the Chafetz Chaim and others give about, there was this man, he had a successful business, and in this business he had a store, and people would come from all over the place. It kept him so busy that he didn't have time to go to shul, he didn't down with the minyan, he didn't set aside time to learn Torah. And as the years went by, he had a very successful business, but he realized his end was near, and that it was time to make a din mecheshbon, and to put aside some seder l'derech, some zechuyos for the future, some merits for after he passes. So he decided the next day he was going to go to shul, and he was going to spend 2 hours learning in the base medrash, and that's what he did. When he got to work, his wife said, "Where were you? Where are all the customers? They're wondering where you are. They're getting upset." And he said, "Well, I got busy with some stuff, and I was not able to get here on time." And this happened a few days, and finally she checked him out, and she followed him, and she saw that he was in the base medrash for these 2 hours. And she said to him, "Honey, what are you doing here? You're ruining the business." So the husband answered, "Well, what would happen if it was my time to go and the Malach HaMavis came and took me? Would you be able to say, no, now's not a good time, you won't be able to do business, you got to take him later?" It doesn't work like that. So why don't you imagine that for 2 hours a day that I am gone, and then miraculously 2 hours later there'll be Tchias HaMesin, and I'm going to be able to help you in the store. And that is the approach that we should have in terms of every day we should be kovei itim laTorah. We should set aside some time that's inviolate, even if it's just a few minutes a day, or just a Mishnah, or a couple of Pesukim in Chumash, or whatever we want and are comfortable learning with. So let us be memes et atzmeinu, let us figuratively kill each other and make Torah our priority for us and for our family, and have a wonderful day.